Hello, this is Angela Kinney, and I'm the herbalist at Nature Made Gardens. Welcome to my channel. Tonight we're going to do a video on the healthy immune system. So there's going to be video number 1, how the immune system works, and prevention and herbs that you can take. And then there's going to be video number 2 that shows how to make fire cider. So I'm doing a class this way. I'm going to have handouts for people to pick up at an event that I'm doing this weekend. And I'm doing this because of the way that things are in our life right now with COVID-19 and social distancing. And so this is a way that I thought we could do a virtual class. So if you're somebody that's not in my local area and doesn't have access to me and you want this handout, if you'll email me at arkenny65@yahoo.com, I will try to get you this handout if that's something that you're interested in. So tonight you're going to see me, instead of just winging it and plant identifying and telling you what all you can do with plants, we're going to probably look a little bit at our handout that's in front of us. So the first thing we want to do is, again, we're going to talk about the immune system and how it works. And the first part of this, we're going to talk about how it works in our body. So the immune system is a way we protect ourselves against pathogens and tumor cells. It is a set of biological structures and processes that can detect a wide variety of invading microorganisms, from viruses to bacteria to parasites. In order to do this, the organisms must recognize the difference between self and non-self. This is a complex system that must continually evolve as pathogens are continually evolving as well. Disease can occur when the immune system is underactive or overactive. Immunodeficiency or an underactive immune system can result in frequent infections like seasonal colds and flus. We are constantly in contact with a wide variety of bacteria and viruses that can cause infection. The strength of our immune system makes the difference in those people who are sick all the time and those who seldom become ill. The hyperactive immune system can also lead to ill health. Autoimmune diseases such as lupus and rheumatoid arthritis and many more are the results of an immune system that no longer recognizes the difference between self and non-self. Sometimes this is seen as an overactive immune system. So as we can see, our immune system is not just an organ in our body. We have our digestive system, we have our respiratory system, we have our nervous system, we have our different organs in our body, but our immune system is a very complex system that is involved with all of our body functions. And so it's a very important system for it to be healthy and to work, for the rest of our system to work also. So the skin is a part of our immune system. We don't think of the skin as a part of our immune system, but it is. Pathogens can enter the body both through the skin, and it's the pH of our skin is what kills some of the bacteria, and also the epidermis of the skin has closely packed cells preventing entry. So our skin is a very important part of our immune system. Things can enter into our skin if we have healthy skin, if our liver's healthy, if we have healthy oils in our skin. Those things can protect our system. Also, sometimes having too clean a skin, we need a little bit of dirt. And I know that's we live in somewhat of a sterile society where we wash and clean all the time. And if we're in contact with viruses, those things are important that we wash our hands, because that can kill the virus from spreading to us. But also our system, digging in the dirt, gardening. They've found that all these things can also promote a healthy immune system, because we are getting that stuff in through our skin. Skin is a very important factor to the immune system. So the mucous membranes do not have the advantage of the closely packed cells like the skin, but it does produce mucus that can engulf microorganisms. Most mucus produced in the upper respiratory system is swallowed, and upon entering the stomach, the acids present destroy the pathogens. So there again, we're talking about the whole system. So our gut is part of that digestive system. Our immune system is 80% in our digestive system, in our gut. So having a healthy gut is a very important part of the immune system. So if we're taking things like Prilosec, or we're taking things to reduce the acid in our stomach, that's also going to lower our ability to fight those pathogens and that bacteria that's coming into our system, because we need that acid present in our stomach to kill that. And so acid in our stomach is an important factor. No, we don't want to be burping it up. And I did a class on the healthy gut, and there's different things that you can do that help that esophageal sphincter to close properly, so that you're not getting those acids up into your throat. But having a healthy digestive system is very important, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that a little farther down in this class. Inflammation is a localized immune response that inhibits infections and promotes healing. So inflammation is something that we think of as being bad, but inflammation is a healthy response that is going on to promote white blood count and promote the immune system to kick in, to heal. And so sometimes now too much inflammation is not good, but having a healthy immune system and having a healthy inflammatory response is important, is correct. So at the beginning of the inflammatory process, chemicals are released to dilate blood vessels, thus creating more blood flow to the area. Increased blood flow causes redness and heat. The inflammatory process also increases the permeability of the capillaries, and this increase in fluid movement creates swelling. So you can think of swelling, you can think of, you got an injury, or you can think of the heat as a fever or redness where you've hurt yourself, or maybe you've got swollen sinuses. This is all an inflammatory process that's going on that's normal for your body to heal. It's the way your body is trying to handle what's going on with your system. Pain can result if there is an infection present from the swelling or from irritation of the nerve endings. Through the process of inflammation, white blood cells become attracted to the area to inhibit infection. The inflammatory process inhibits infection and then promotes healing by stimulating cell division to repair any damage. Fever is another important process of the immune system, and it often gets a bad rap. We think of fever as being bad, but fever is a natural process that our body's going through to try to heal itself. So pathogens are killed at certain temperatures. A fever raises the body's temperature in order to make the environment less hospitable to the invading microorganisms. Not only does this inhibit the growth of pathogens, it also increases the immune system function. So when we try to squelch that fever, we're not letting the immune system work like it should. Now I'm going to talk a little bit more about fever, do's and don'ts about fever, and what we should do about a fever. But a fever is an important process for the immune system. It's a healthy response. The immune system can also have specific resistance to an organism. This is the production of specific cells to attack a specific invader. These cells create a memory of the specific pathogen, and if it is encountered again, the response is quicker and stronger. This is why people often get the chickenpox one time. After the initial infection, the immune system is able to take care of the chickenpox virus before it can cause another systemic infection. These cells in the body recognize foreign antigens. They circulate throughout the body looking for these antigens. Once they find them, they bind to the non-self antigens, which are then destroyed. If the same antigen re-enters the body at some time in the future, then the memory cells act more quickly and more strongly to stop the antigen. For an unknown reason, people can generate antibodies to foods such as gluten and dairy and soy and seafood and more. When someone has these antibodies, they can no longer eat these foods without creating an immune system response. Over time, these responses can lead to excessive inflammation and are suspected as a key culprit in many autoimmune diseases. And so lots of times, your immune, that your inflammatory response is like great because you're eating something that your body is detected as an antigen. And so it's constantly do this inflammatory response, and your immune system's trying to be overactive. And this is what goes on a lot of times with these autoimmune disorders like rheumatoid and lupus and many more. And so it's an important to know, to heal, it's important to know what's going on and how it works. So ways we can support a healthy immune system. So the next thing we're going to talk about is vitamin D. And vitamin D is a supplement. And it's also something that you can take, a supplement that you can buy and take, but it's something that we get from the sun. We get it from the direct sun. And we get it and we process vitamin D through the sun through our skin. And so our skin has to be exposed for 15 to 30 minutes to be able to absorb vitamin D. The time frame that you need to, you can get vitamin D is from about 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock. What are we doing from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock? Most of us are at our jobs. And so we're living in a modern time where we work jobs, we work inside, we live inside. We're not outside like the farmers used to work in the fields all the time, and kids ran and play all summer long, and they absorbed this vitamin D, and their systems were strong and healthy. But now we live in a modern society where we go to work every morning and we work all day long and we're not out in the sunshine. And so it's being noted that there's more and more low levels of D3. And low levels of D3 has been noted in lots of cancer patients, like cancer patients that have breast cancer, colon cancer, these kinds of cancers. I think other cancers also, but D3 is an important supplement that you need to take. Now, during the summertime, lots of times if you're outside and you can absorb that D3, most people can absorb 20,000 units of D in that length of time that I talked about, 15 to 30 minutes. But if you have darker skin, it takes about 3 hours. If you're older, like if you're an elder, as we get older, we don't absorb vitamin D. And if we're obese, we don't absorb vitamin D. D is fat soluble, and so that affects if you're obese, and we live in a nation that a lot of us are overweight. So we're not absorbing D as well if we're overweight or we're obese. And so these are important factors that we need to take vitamin D. It also has been known that people that don't take vitamin D have much more upper respiratory infections. So this is something, and vitamin D stimulates the immune system. So I'm going to read just a little bit what vitamin D, north of Atlanta, Georgia, and El Paso, Texas. Vitamin D is not manufactured from the middle of October to about the middle of March. Research has revealed that people with low levels of vitamin D have more upper respiratory infections than people with good levels. Low vitamin D level can also cause a high inflammatory response, which can cause a cytokine storm and lead to death from influenza. Vitamin D puts a brake on a cytokine storms. So typically influenza starts in November and peaks in March. This is when people have the lowest levels of vitamin D. And in my experience, it seems like more people come to me with flu issues in the spring than they do in the fall. I think in the fall, we've kind of got D in us, and we've been out in the sunshine in the summertime, and then we come into October and we're starting to spend more time inside. Our kids are spending more time inside. They go back to school. Sugar brings our level of immune system down, and we start eating more sugar. And so these things like build up. We've got Halloween, we've got Thanksgiving, we've got Christmas, and we get to January, and the days are short, and there's not a lot of sunlight, and our D just starts going down. So we get to the spring, and our D is pretty low, and that's lots of times when the flu season is the worst, and part of it's because our D is low. So we need to supplement with D. So the experts are saying that, and researchers are recommending 2,000 to 10,000 IUs of vitamin D daily. So one way that you could see how much vitamin D that you have, if you get a wellness check each year, be sure to check what your D level is, and you can kind of go from there. But they're recommending that a minimum of 4,000 IUs during the winter, and the peak influenza risk times are recommended. So this is an important part of our immune system, that we know things that we can do to prevent illness. So another thing is sleep. Sleep is an important factor of a healthy system. If we are sleep deprived, our whole body is not functioning. Our immune system is lower. We're at greater risk of sickness and illness and all kinds of diseases. Our brain needs 8 hours of sleep every night to be able to rejuvenate. And a lot of us are on devices. We're watching TV late at night, and all of these things affect sleep. When we do go to sleep, we don't maybe go into a deep sleep, and we need to go into a deep sleep to be able to really restore our body, and that creates a better system that can handle illness, better for our immune system. Another thing is stress. We have so much stress in our life nowadays, and so we need to find ways that we can deal with stress and deal with the things that are going on in our life. Look for ways that are quiet and peaceful and less activities. We don't have to be involved in everything. Everybody, our families, our schools are just geared to where we run here and we run there and we do this activity and we try to do too much. And it's very stressful and hard on our system and can cause disease, cause a lower immune system. So people need to take note. If you're stressed out all the time, figure out what the source is. Exercise is a great way to relieve stress. Yoga or walking outside in nature is a wonderful way to relieve stress. And of course, gardening in the summertime is fantastic, but we're looking at the winter months, and even reading a book before you go to bed instead of looking at your device or watching TV is much more relaxing and gets your body ready to go to sleep. And it also, is less stressful. And so these things, we need to look for things that are less stressful, more quiet. We need to spend more quiet, peaceful time and not have our mind full all the time, busy, busy, busy. So the next thing we're going to talk about is fever, and we mentioned it earlier, that it is an important immune response. So I want to note that fever in infants and fever in elders can quickly become serious, and so I don't want to encourage anyone to let a fever go. If you have an infant or if you have an elder, you need to see a health practitioner. So fever is an important response for your body to let that run its course. But again, if you've got an infant or if you've got an elder, you need to see a health practitioner. But a fever increases the metabolism, and it keeps the bacteria down, and it activates the white blood cells. So we talked about a little bit earlier that when you suppress the fever, that it causes dysfunction in the immune system. So this is an important thing, to let that fever run its course. It's trying to heal you. It's trying to do its job. So here's a few do's and don'ts on fevers. So you do need to stay hydrated, and a lot of people, when they're sick, they want to drink orange juice, and orange juice is very sugary and it causes there to be more mucus in your throat. And so I would suggest don't drink juices that are high in sugar. A little bit of lemon in your water is a great thing to drink to stay hydrated. A little bit of water just in itself, cool water can help quench that thirst. And then herbal teas, clear liquids. These things are great to drink whenever you're having a fever. Staying hydrated is not just drinking something. Also, through your skin, you can get dehydrated, or you can hydrate yourself through your skin. So taking a bath, you absorb that through your skin. You can even take an herbal bath, and that would get herbal medicine into your system through the bath. And we don't think of that, but your bathtub's a great big teacup that you can absorb into your system. Maybe you don't like the tea that your herbalist is giving you, but maybe you could take a bath in it and you'd absorb it into your system, and you'd be beneficial from it. So I have people that they want their teas to be sweet and taste great, but anyway, sometimes our teas have to be a little bit bitter to do the job. But again, taking a bath is a great way to hydrate your skin. I had an experience with a dog one time that was very, very ill, and the dog was not going to make it. It was dehydrated. We had to get, it was over the weekend. We couldn't get it to the vet, and the dog was going down pretty fast. I couldn't get the dog to drink, and so I put it in the bath, and I started giving it a bath and continually gave it a bath, and I saved its life. And by hydrating it, it absorbed into the skin. So your skin is a way that you can hydrate yourself. So I just want people to know that. That's something that's very important to know. So you do need to fast from food. Whenever you're eating and you're digesting food and you're running a fever, your immune system is going to slow down. Your digestive system pretty much shuts down during fevers. And so for you to try to eat while you're running a fever is not a good idea. Sugar decreases the immune system function by 50% for 5 hours. So we need to just try to stay hydrated, try not to eat a lot, just let that body heal. And then the next thing, you need to rest. You need to stay in bed, rest or do light activity until the fever is gone for 24 hours. Getting up and trying to go back to regular activity, to school, to work, all these things can cause a relapse and possible viral pneumonia. Lots of times people that get up, they think that they're getting better and they go back to work and they push on, and our society is we're living in a day and time where we feel like we've just got to push and we don't take care of ourselves. I just want to try to encourage you to take care of yourself and stay home and rest while you're running a fever. Chronic fatigue syndrome has been researched and traced back to initial viral infections where people tried to continue on with regular activity and regular work, and they didn't take the time to rest throughout the fever or the viral infection. So, and those are hard things to get over. So we just need to pay attention and really rest when we have a fever. It's a time that we need to allow ourselves to heal. So don't take Tylenol and ibuprofen and aspirin during a fever. The first thing people want to do is go to that, and they feel achy and they're running a fever and they want to suppress it. And so, but that will suppress the immune system if you take those things. If you take those forms of fever reduction products, they mask symptoms. They allow you to return to school and to work and while you're still contagious. So that thus allowing the infection to spread in the community. So we need to honor our bodies when our bodies are trying to heal. Do take herbal teas that support fever and help with achy joints. There's things that you can drink, some herbal teas that you can drink that help with that achy joints, and maybe just taking a bath makes you feel better. Combination of yarrow, equal parts yarrow, peppermint, and elderflower tea is very helpful to deal with fevers and aches. And it's not just suppressing the fever, but it supports the fever process. And so it can kind of help you to sweat. It helps you to feel better. It just helps you during a fever. And so I would call it fever support. So do take a warm shower and then get in a warm bed during the chilling process of stage 1 fever, because the first thing you do lots of times is you start chilling and you're kind of aching, and take a shower. Just take a warm shower or a warm bath, and then just get in bed into a warm bed, and then drink warm ginger tea. Ginger is very warming, and it warms the whole system, and it just kind of like, you can just feel your chest warming up, you can feel your system warming up. And when I do my fire cider demonstration, I'm also going to show you how to make ginger tea, because this is something you can buy at the store and have on hands, and you can make some ginger tea. And so that's something that's very simple to do. It tastes delicious. I love ginger. It's just great to drink a little bit of ginger tea when you're in that cold, achy aspect of that first stage of fever. Then whenever you start going through the stage 2 of fever and you're kind of hot and restless and you don't feel good, you can take a shower that's a little bit cooler. I'm not talking about a cold shower, but just a little bit cooler, or a bath. Or sometimes I can always remember whenever I was running a fever, As a child, we did things different then than people do now. My mom always put a cold cloth on my head, and it felt so good. And then it would get warm, and she'd go and get it cold again and put it on my head. And I can just remember, putting it on the back of my neck and on my forehead. And that really helped me feel better during a fever. And so that's something that you can do, and that is a healthy way to support a fever, is a cool cloth to moisten the skin during that hot stage of fever too. And then another thing that you can do is drink marshmallow root tea. Marshmallow root tea is a fantastic moistening. It's cooling tea that supports fever and a dry cough. So marshmallow root tea, you would infuse it in cold water and just put it in like a quart jar, like maybe a couple of tablespoons in a quart jar, and let that set in the refrigerator or just on the counter. And then you can dilute it down more and make that the water that you drink. And that's very supportive for fever and for a dry cough, and it soothes irritated tissues. And so marshmallow is very healing during a flu where you're sick. So the next thing I want to talk about is a healthy digestion. And we've talked about that a little bit. And if you've taken any of my classes, I kind of harp on healthy digestion, because this was the beginning of my healing my rheumatoid arthritis, was be understanding that my gut had to heal first before I could heal the rest of my body. And so this was a part of my herbal journey, was learning about healing and having a healthy digestive system. So having a healthy immune system is key to preventing illness. Maintaining healthy digestion is key to our immune system function. The majority of our immune system lies within our gut, as we mentioned earlier. Having chronic digestive issues, problems such as constipation, diarrhea, indigestion, acid reflux, all those things can all lead to immune system dysfunction. One manifestation of this is one that's called leaky gut syndrome. So what happens with leaky gut is the intestinal walls not only absorb nutrients from the food, but they also act as a barrier to keep the food particles out of the bloodstream. So if the intestinal villi becomes damaged through food intolerance, like we talked about before, where you're eating foods that are causing antigens into your system, and your immune system's reacting to that. That's what we're talking about, food intolerance. Excessive alcohols, NSAIDs like ibuprofen and Tylenol. When you take a lot of those things, antibiotics. Antibiotics, they kill all the bacteria. And so they not only take care of the infection. Antibiotics are important for certain things, but they've been misused and overused. And so those antibiotics kind of kill all that gut flora, all that bacteria. And so you're starting from scratch again. That's why it's important to take probiotics whenever you do take antibiotics, to keep that gut flora healthy. So anyway, so then food particles then can move into the bloodstream, and this can set off an immune response, and it's thought by many to be the cause of some of the autoimmune diseases. So you are what you eat. So it can't be said enough that eating good, wholesome food leads to good health. So eating in season, eating whole foods are key to good digestion. Processed foods are full of additives and chemicals to preserve them, and should be avoided, or at least minimized. I know it's hard in this day and time to not eat any processed food, but it's important that we try to eat as whole as we possibly can. Just think in terms of the whole food and eat that, and that's a good rule of thumb. So raw isn't always the best. Sometimes people think, when they're thinking in terms of whole food, they think of just raw foods. But sometimes people that have digestive issues, they have a hard time breaking that raw food down. And so sometimes steaming the food, it breaks it down just a little bit, and it helps us to digest that better. So eating your some of that hard food like broccoli and cauliflower and some of those things that kind of are hard, if you steam them a little bit, that makes it easier to break down. Sometimes greens can cause like salads and stuff. A lot of raw salads can cause an upset stomach. And so sometimes, eating a lightly steamed salad with a little bit of olive oil, you put a little kale and spinach, and you saute that in the skillet just a little bit, and those things are wet, and that steams it. and a little onion and garlic on that, and that just kind of breaks it down a little bit. It's easier for your system to digest. I have found that to be true for myself and for several other people also. So probiotics, I mentioned, pay attention to what you eat and how you feel when you can help you understand your own individual digestive system. This was part of my healing journey. Was I started paying attention to what was triggering me and what was going on in my system, and that really helped me to heal. And that was really actually the first thing I did before I even got into the herbs. Was I started trying to eat healthier before I ever even went off of my medicine. And that, just paying attention. How do you feel when you eat? How do you feel when you eat this food? Is this causing you issues? Look into it and see if this is part of the problem. Eating fermented foods like organic apple cider vinegar, sauerkraut, yogurt, beet kvass, all of these are excellent, wonderful to feed that gut flora, and they're natural probiotics. Dandelion root, I can't say enough about dandelion root. People probably get tired of hearing me harp about dandelion root, but it's the most wonderful thing you can do for your digestive system is drink dandelion root tea. It's good for the liver. It feeds that gut flora. It's a prebiotic, which is like a fertilizer on the probiotic on that gut flora. So it's just incredibly important, and it just helps the liver to function better. I just can't say enough about dandelion tea. And dandelion tea is a really easy thing. You can purchase it just about anywhere. You can order it at your store, or you get it at your store, or you can order it online. Anyway, dandelion root tea, roasted dandelion root, it to me tastes the best. So that all promotes good digestion and feeds the gut flora with prebiotics, and so then we're having a healthier immune system. So that digestive system plays a huge role in us being healthy. So now we're going to talk a little bit about prevention herbs. And so one of my favorite herbs, and I've done a video on elderberry. We showed you elderflowers. You can go back into some other videos and look at elderflowers, and I mentioned it as a fever support tea. You can use it for that. I use it for several different things. And then the elderberries, I did a video on elderberries, on how to harvest them and use them. And I use them in teas and syrups and shrubs. And shrub is and we'll show you how to make this fire cider, which is basically a shrub. But you infuse your elderberries in organic apple cider vinegar, and you let that set for a couple of weeks or a month. I like to let it set for a month, and shake it each day, and then you strain it off and add honey to it. So this is a great way to preserve it. It's a great way to get not only that elderberry for an antiviral, it's also great for your digestion health because you're putting that apple cider vinegar in there. And honey is a great herb for your immune system. So this is just like a power punched great product. And then of course you've got your elderberry syrup. It's pretty famous to help with the flu and these kinds of things. And it's usually made with elderberries and cloves, and I add rose hips to mine, which is an added vitamin C, and lots of times you'll put ginger in it, and we talked about ginger earlier about how it warms up your system and these things. So, and then you add honey to it to thicken it up and to make it sweet. And so these are things that you can do with elderberry. You can also make a tincture